This regularly stated Board of Education meeting to order for USD 230. Rachel, please collect the roll.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson? Mrs. Milius? Mr. Ewing?
Here.
Mrs. Sealing? Mr. Hoffman? We have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you. Please rise, or let's move to approval of the agenda.
So move.
Second. It's moved and seconded for approval of the agenda. Any questions or comments or discussion? Rachel, please collect a vote.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Ewing?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Approved.
Very good. Thank you. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Thank you. We always like to start off a Board of Education meeting with reading the mission and vision statements so that that's clear in our minds, and that's forefront is being focused on our vision and our mission. So our vision here at USD 230 is to maintain small town values and empower each student to achieve world-class success. Our mission here at USD 230 is to be a school district that engages students to learn, create, adapt, and succeed in an ever-changing world. So moving along with business with individuals. All right, and so let's, I do have one card, Kimberly Charity. I have that right? You can come up, please note that we don't hear any complaints about employees during this. That's haven't happened in or handled in executive session. And you can proceed.
Thank you. I've spoken here before, maybe like a year and a half ago. And some of you I know, some parents maybe might know who I am. My husband runs a dental office and I'm a fitness instructor. And I have a sophomore that is at Spring Hill. And then I have a 13-year-old at Willow Spring. And so I do follow, if I'm not here in person, I do follow the meetings online. I really, really want everyone here to know that I appreciate your service, especially in the past 3 years. I know it's been really hard. And one of the things I think that I just wanted to bring this concern as a parent, I know the district made the best decision that you guys could at the time, and I'm not here to change it. I can't change that you guys voted for a virtual online science teacher for 10th grade at Spring Hill High because you are trying to solve a problem, a staff shortage. There are also other districts that are in this position. It's been really hard to find staff, so I get it. But moving forward, I think what really bothered me, and I don't think I'm alone in this, but I'm not speaking for anyone else. My parents were public school teachers. And so I know that the salaries aren't great. It doesn't matter where you teach in certain district. And so it does matter, I think, the precedence that decision made for the current teachers that we have in our district that we value. So I think what bothered me the most was that when I found out it took a big chunk of our budget to solve that problem. If I was in a position of a teacher in person and I was making less than what our budget gave to the online teacher or to the virtual academy, then I guess I'm a parent and I would naturally make a financial decision. I'm like, why would I be an in-person teacher if I can make double being an online teacher? I think it's an insult to our teachers. And it makes them question, all the stress and everything that they do every day. So that was one thing that bothered me. It did bother me that, that I didn't, as a parent, I don't remember getting an email. Maybe there was an email that came, if an email had come out, let's say in the spring of 2023, that said, hey, listen, parents, we're having staff shortages. We are considering, as a board or as a school district, getting a virtual science teacher for a certain grade or whatever grade. And this is how much it's going to cost. I know as a parent what I would do. I would be like asking people around town, hey, by the way, if you're willing to be an in-person teacher and we can pay you a little bit more than your district, I think an in-person teacher would take a position if the salary was high enough. And so I just think to myself, okay, the board made their decision. Dr. Luttrell did his best to try and fill that spot, right? I'm not going to complain about it now, but now my daughter and her friends are in this class. And when I hear things that go on in the class that, in my opinion, is not excellent education, then I think it's important now that if we have this problem again next year, whether it's a science teacher or another teacher position that we can't fill, that somehow we either up the salary for an in-person teacher, or there's more of a discussion, as opposed to the first time I heard about this, and maybe other parents would say the same thing, was maybe about 2 weeks before the class schedules came out. And to me, that's not transparency. I'm here to help. I believe there's parents, even if they don't believe maybe exactly what I believe, that they're here to help. So I would appreciate, I think, you guys considering the message behind that vote that you're sending to the teachers, because I value them. I'm pretty sure a lot of us value them. And we should also consider, okay, well, what is transparency? Because that's kind of $100,000. I kind of think it's a big decision. And like, I have elderly neighbors. They don't even have kids in the district, but it's their money too. I value their money. And so my daughter and her friend, they're both in the class. They're both in 4th hour. So I can only speak to 4th hour incidences. And if you'd like, I definitely think that, I think it's very powerful if you hear from the students. I think that's more powerful actually than if you hear from a parent who's not very happy. But if I can get some of the students to tell you guys what happens in the class that is not excellent, in my opinion, I think that I'm really hoping that if we do have to consider the virtual academy, that maybe we can come up with another solution. I don't know what, I mean, I hate complaining, because if you complain, you should always come up with a solution, right? But I think interviewing the students, but what was going on, I actually met the professional that is in the classroom with the kids, and the kids love her. And so I'm really happy about that. But some of the things that my daughter and her friends said are, they hand us worksheets. We can't focus on the screen. No one checks our work. And I think that's interesting that they said that last week. And I don't know if there was some good communication, but apparently their homework is now being checked, according to my daughter. But she said a lot of the kids aren't even filling out the worksheets that the virtual teacher wants because they're not checked. No, I mean, what's the incentive, right? So that's just a little bit of it. I think that you get my gist on it. I want our school district to be excellent. I really think we're on the verge of that. I definitely think we're on the verge of competing with Blue Valley and Olathe, if we even consider them, good anymore. We have so many good things about our district. And the one thing I do want to tell you guys that I love watching it online, because you guys highlight, I don't know who does the highlight videos of what goes on in the schools that are good. That's awesome. We need to see that, because I think that what's more important is just making sure, if we are taking a big part of our money, that we're valuing the in-person teachers just as much. And that's a decision that should be weighed a little bit more heavily, I guess. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming in. Moving on to good news recognitions and announcements.
Yes, we have quite a bit of good news this morning. We're also going to see one of those outstanding highlight videos here at the very end. But first, like I said, we do have several recognition programs that throughout the school year, where we try to again recognize our outstanding staff members. One of our programs that is sponsored by the Kansas State Department of Education and recognizes outstanding teachers who have completed their first year in the classroom, and is known as the Kansas Horizon Award. And we have two individuals that we're going to recognize this evening that are the recipients within USD230 of the Kansas Horizon Award. And I'm going to read you a little bit about each one. And then when I finish, if I have those individuals come forward, and we'll do some photo shoots, and if they want to say a few words, fine. And then after that, we have another recognition for our Kansas Teachers of the Year that we're going to recognize. So first, I want to acknowledge Shelby Londine from Wolf Creek Elementary, who is our Elementary Horizon Award winner. Shelby embodies the expertise of a seasoned educator despite the youth that she has, and well as having the seasoned educator, but brings the enthusiasm of a novice. Her determination in addressing complex student needs, leadership roles, and contributions that she brings to many committees and mentoring showcase her exceptional professionalism. We also, as a Horizon Award recipient, are honoring Adriana Wendell from Spring Hill High School. She is our secondary recipient at the secondary level and has just completed her first year. She transformed a struggling program by establishing trust as well as connecting with students. Her dedication and effective changes have had a lasting impact, which make her very deserving for the Horizon Award. And this time I'd like for Shelby and Adriana to please come forward.
We give them a little bit of credit. Well done.
Okay, Shelby, we're going to get you first, and like I said, President Updike, and we want to say congratulations. When we're finished, we'll let you introduce anybody that you have with you this evening.
All right, ready, 1, 2, 3. Very good. Next we have.
Anybody else want to get a picture?
Come on up.
My mother.
Get out of there. Oh.
I got you. I'll take pictures. Oh, no. Yeah, well, my, yeah. All right, ready, 1, 2, 3.
Sorry.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. On this way, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And who'd you bring? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Very good, thank you.
Okay, and then we're going to recognize our USD 230 candidates that will represent USD 230 for the 2026 Kansas Teacher of the Year Award. And we have Melanie. First one will be Melanie Golopsky, who from Dayton Creek Elementary, and she's our 2025 district level elementary teacher of the year. Creates engaging learning environments and actively participates on many school committees. Her leadership roles, such as being a big coordinator for the Leader in Me program, reflect her unwavering commitment to education. We also will applaud Michelle Weitz from Spring Hill High School, who's also our 2025 district level secondary teacher of the year. Her innovative teaching methods, mentoring of younger educators, and willingness to present to staff demonstrate her dedication to improving teaching techniques and student engagement. So at this time, we're going to recognize, as I said, let's give Melanie and Michelle both a big round of applause. And we'll
Three, 1, 2, 3. Very good. I think we're ready.
No.
Perfect. All right. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Very good. Congratulations. All right. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Get out of here.
Me.
The whole crew.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. Very good.
Again, we thank our attendees for being in attendance tonight and allowing us to recognize them. And I know that they will continue to represent USD 230 at the highest level. This time, as we have our monthly What's Going Well video, and this month we are highlighting many of the great things that are occurring every day in classrooms, and that at Woodland Spring Middle School.
There are so many wonderful things happening here at the school. We love this school. We love it here. For one, we are wrapping up our bullying prevention week. It has been fantastic. We had a red card assembly where Sporting KC and Children's Mercy came in.
As you can hear, middle schoolers are very enthusiastic, and my days go very fast with lots of hard work and new experiences teaching orchestra for the first time.
This year, our kids seem to be really adjusted well and getting to do new things, and it's fun to watch them.
This year, going well so far, I think, is that we've tried some new things on the menu, like chicken and vegetable dumplings. They're pretty good, so kids enjoyed them, and hopefully we get to try some more.
With all their activities that we're doing in class, students are just very engaged, and they're having a blast going through it, which is sometimes a challenge for math, but it's going really well with their engagement and just their buy into the content.
And as you can see, our book fair is going on, and that is what is going well here.
Everything is going great around here as the staff, students, the activities are great. Looking forward to the rest of the year and having a great time.
And that's our good news recognitions and announcements.
Very good. Thank you. Always good to celebrate the tremendous activities and the accomplishments of folks, especially, Horizon Award winners and others. To bring that up and acknowledge the hard work that the teachers and educators are doing in our district. So thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. Moving on now to the consent agenda, which consists of approval of the consent agenda items, approval of the minutes of the September 25th, 2023 regular stated meeting, personnel, early graduation requests, copier replacement, and BOTA, Board of Taxing Authority application for Forest Spring Middle School 2023. Any questions or discussion on the consent agenda?
I just want to say the early graduation requests are some of the most well-written, best ones I've ever seen. I mean, I read them every year and they're really, really good this year.
Quite a few of them this year.
And there was a bunch.
Yes. Yeah. Well said, Brent.
With that, I move for approval of the consent agenda as listed.
Second.
It's moved and second for approval of the consent agenda. Are there any discussion or comments? Rachel, please collect the vote.
Mrs. Milius? Yes. Mr. Ewing?
Yes.
Mrs. Sealing?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell? Yes. Approved.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on to discussion items. First discussion item for the evening is consideration of playground equipment and surface. Dr. Luttrell.
Yes, Mr. Delphi is going to provide some information about a project that he came across a few weeks back involving a grant opportunity that would provide a big match, about a 50% match on some purchase of actual playground equipment, of course. And our oldest playground equipment is at Spring Hill Elementary School. And this grant will allow us to basically at the grades 2 through 5 playground and purchase brand new playground equipment for that particular area, as well as put in the synthetic turf surface. And also with this, which he will explain, our other elementary schools, except for Prairie Creek, also have the rubber turf surface. And so this project would also address making sure that Prairie Creek received the turf synthetic rubber surface as well. And so Kylie's going to take a moment and talk about that. We have had communication with Spring Hill Elementary with Mrs. Endicott, and she's been working on getting with staff and her site council that to make sure that the specific pieces of equipment would be the type that everyone, the grades 2 through 5 would enjoy. So Mr. Delphi, I'll let you take a brief few moments and tell us about this project and some of the anticipated costs. And again, we would come back again at the next meeting in October and ask for action at that time.
Thanks, Dr. Luttrell. So Doug Schwitt and I stumbled upon a grant through Game Time and Cunningham Recreation. The grant provides 100% matching funds if the playground systems exceed $75,000. And if we have the quote signed and back to them by October 27th. So kind of time is of the essence here. She's Spring Hill Elementary School currently has the oldest playground systems in the district. If there's a little sidewalk that goes in between the two playgrounds, the playground on the north end of that sidewalk is from the original 1994. And then they added the other playground, which is on the south side of that sidewalk, added that in 1994, or I'm sorry, 2004, 2005 is when we think that was installed. So a little bit later, but it still has the oldest playground in the district. We're wanting to get that replaced. We want to be equitable across the district, all elementary schools. So this would be a good opportunity if Game Time is willing to match us 50% grant to get new equipment. That'd be very nice. I'd cut the cost in half literally, and we would have new equipment. Some other things is the other pieces of equipment like the swing sets, spinners, and things like that are not included in this. It's just the system itself is included in the grant. So put that out there. The new playground equipment, if we do get the quote signed by the due date, it's about 12 weeks out. So we'd be looking at about February-ish time when we could get that installed. That's their lead time in getting everything made. So be about February. If weather cooperates, we could certainly do that during the winter time, during February. How I foreseen doing it is doing one piece of playground equipment at a time. So that way, if we do get some good weather and students can go out and play on the equipment, they don't have both sets of equipment taken off and they can still play on one set. So, the old playground equipment will be recycled. We can't donate that. And we can't even sell it because there's liability reasons why we can't do that. If somebody was to get hurt on it later, if it was reinstalled somewhere else, we would still be held liable for that. So we'd plan to recycle that metal and get a small chunk of change back for the metal we recycled. So, keep in mind, this does not include installation costs. This is just for the system itself. Typically, installation cost is about 25% of what you pay for the playground system. So for easy math, if we spent $100,000 on playground equipment, it'd be $25,000 to install it. So, and this doesn't include any turf surface either. The grant doesn't include that, but this is something we'd want to include to get everybody equitable across the district. And that's all I have. Oh, any questions?
So a couple of questions. Is there a deadline for when the work would have to be done in order to fulfill the obligations with the grant?
There is not. No.
Okay. And then was this already in the budget to redo the playground? So is the money already there and spoken for and allocated and all that kind of stuff?
It's been on our to-do list. We know it's been a need for a few years now. And with this opportunity, we thought, wow, 2 playground units are probably going to cost about $75,000 after the discount. So we're getting about $75,000 paid for, $75,000 out of our pocket, and we've got money in capital outlay to cover it. So it's one of those projects that's been on our to-do list, and now's a good time to get some funding and get it knocked off. So
there wouldn't be any equipment at Prairie Creek. This is all going to be at Spring Hill Elementary, correct?
Yes. And then Prairie Creek, we would want to do the turf surfacing there.
That would not be part of the grant then?
No, it would not.
Got it. I'm surprised nobody's got sliced up by that one step in that picture.
I know.
That's pretty nasty.
It's pretty gnarly looking.
Yes.
Almost 30 years old.
Yeah.
Will you be presenting us with the costs soon? What those estimated costs look like for all of it?
Yes, so tomorrow Tammy is meeting with Ryan Dalton, which is a sales rep for Cunningham. He's going to give Tammy and her group that she has together to look at some pieces of equipment, and we've kind of given them some budgetary limits of where we need to be. But once they select something and put that package together, we'll come back with some official numbers to the board. So.
Will that also include the installation cost and the turf costs?
It will not include the turf costs because I need to do a lot more research on that before so I'll bring that to the board again at a later time. But for now, we're just talking about the playground equipment and the installation cost.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Mr. Delphi? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Moving on to our second discussion item, which is information on possible class action lawsuit against social media companies.
A couple years ago, there's a legal firm that nationwide did a class action lawsuit that USD was signed on to at the time with the Juul company and the vaping. And so that wound up being settled, and USD did receive a small portion of funds from that summit. Well, that same firm is now considering another class action suit that they're trying to see if there's interest among districts in signing on. But this one would be aimed at the social media giants. And so I asked Mr. Greg Goheen, who is our district counsel, who's been has had communications with this firm and can kind of give you some insight as to what they're thinking, and then answer any questions as to help maybe guide your decision making if you want to sign on or not at this. And he'll tell you, I don't think there's a hard and fast deadline yet established on when you have to sign up. But Greg, I'll let you kind of take a few moments to tell us what you know about this.
Sure. And you're correct. There's not a hard, fast deadline at this point. There are several Kansas school districts that already have signed up to participate in this litigation. I think Shawnee Mission has, Gardner has, Bonner has, and a few others. I'm not sure about Olathe or Blue Valley or DeSoto for that matter, but I think they're all considering it. Similar to the Juul litigation, it is a class action lawsuit that's being promulgated not just by districts in the state of Kansas, but throughout the country. The Juul litigation went after companies that were targeting from a advertising aspect, vaping devices that school districts were then having to deal with, as well as health issues related to those students, and trying to recover some monies to help school districts cover the cost for things that they were having to deal with in connection with the targeting of students and those underage kids who were then bringing those devices into the school setting and using them, and what the negative effects would be. This is somewhat similar. They are targeting the social media companies. They've garnered quite a bit of information related to this. And this is running the gamut from everything from sort of the TikTok challenges that kind of ran through the school districts a while back, where they had students that were coming on and vandalizing school property to raise awareness of TikTok, to the body shaming contests that go on social media, to the bullying and harassment type of activities that go on social media. They've got information about not only from the Surgeon General and the negative aspects of some of the social media stuff, but also a lot of the algorithms they've learned through some other sources, specifically are targeting students and younger children with algorithms that are designed to keep them invested in the social media, sort of to hook them, addict them, just like the cigarettes and tobacco industry did, in much the same fashion. Including things where they're looking at the behaviors like divisiveness, trying to create animosity between individuals, and to try to prey upon people's sort of psychological weaknesses to try to get them more addicted to the social media platforms, and they apparently have generated some amount of research that relates to that. So that's going to be the basis or nature of the claims. The claims on behalf of the school districts would be designed to address and try to obtain monies in the form of damages back for the school districts to help deal with or pay for some of the things that the school districts have had to spend money on to combat the social media, the negative aspects of social media. To include increased mental health, counseling needs in the classrooms, classroom behavior disruption, disciplinary enforcement efforts, damages to school property, and even things such as, physical battery that may be occurring, or bullying or harassment types of things that the school district have to deal with. Much like the Juul litigation that targeted the vaping industry, this is designed or targeted to go after this particular industry to try to get some monetary relief for some school districts. I don't anticipate you're going to recover a large amount of money, but I also don't anticipate that this district would incur a lot in the way of costs, administrative or otherwise, to try to participate in it. And if you don't participate, you do run the risk of not being able to benefit from whatever financial recovery they're able to have. It would be a contingent arrangement. The attorneys firms that are involved in this would front the costs. Unless you're selected to be one of the lead districts, and I don't think you would be. I think they're going to try to target larger districts to be the lead districts. There would not be a lot of administrative time spent on it. There would be some, gathering information, incidents, things like that you could qualify for, but that's the gist of it. So that's more or less what I know about it, but I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have about it, or to obtain additional information from the law firm if you guys desire to have that as well.
Any questions for Mr. Goheen?
This is a national thing or a
It's a national.
regional? National.
It's national. Yeah.
Regionally, though, I believe Olathe voted not to go forward with this.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I think Olathe decided not to go forward with this. I'm just curious about the other districts around
Yeah,
us.
Gardner voted to go forward with it. Shawnee Mission's voted to go forward with it. I know Bonner has. I wasn't sure about Olathe. I wasn't sure one way or the other on them. And I'm not sure about DeSoto or Blue Valley. I know they've all been approached about it, and there's several other districts that are still kind of considering it. I don't know, as I indicated, there's not a hard deadline for joining because they haven't filed the lawsuit yet. They're still trying to figure out the best form to try to file that lawsuit in and to garner enough interest. And I think they will file. It's just a matter of time. And I don't know why a specific district decided to or not to. I think some districts had some pause about suing social media companies at the same time while they were using some of the services of social media companies. And in other words, is that a bit of hypocrisy, perhaps? I'm not sure. And there certainly are benefits that we utilize social media companies for a lot of things, to include advertising school district events and activities and stuff like that. But there are certainly, based upon the information they've looked at, some very negative aspects of the social media companies, particularly if they're trying to target younger students, and go after people that are sort of, in jeopardy of having issues if the social media companies are essentially preying on them through these algorithms. I think that's problematic. So whether it's something the district wants to pursue or not is totally up to the board. But I think there's a fair chance that they may be able to recover some monies for the districts, particularly if they can prove that sort of predatory advertising or predatory attempt to try to go after students is really there. If they can prove that, then that's a problem.
I wouldn't see it as a way of looking for money, but as a way to send a message.
I think the districts that are joining it are looking at it that way. This is not something that you're going to get some big windfall to pay for, all the efforts you might have to undertake to police social media use or, online use that's maybe inappropriate for classrooms or things like that. But it might send a message that maybe has some impact upon how those entities police themselves going forward. Maybe it puts some additional safety measures in place. It may have some non-monetary benefits for future generations of kids would be my guess, but
Right.
I'm with you. I don't see, this is not, we're chasing this because we got a big pot of money that we're gonna be able to pursue at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, those algorithms, I think it was Social Dilemma. Is that the name of the documentary? If you don't think the algorithms are bad, watch that. Then you'll.
No, and I could send you some, I could send to Dr. Luttrell, and he could send it out to the board, some of the information that they've gathered with some of the research already. It's fairly interesting. You know, and if some of that's true, I think they've got some legs for the lawsuit.
Yeah. I think there's no doubt the negative impact on younger kids and social media. So I agree. It's all about just sending a message. It wouldn't be to gain any kind of money from it, but just to kind of take a stand in that and say that we agree that it needs to be at least looked into, that some parameters need to be set.
Yes. So that's what the board will have to decide. And again, if it's something you decide you want to pursue, then.
Yeah, could you forward that to Rachel or Dr. Luttrell? And
sure,
I guess Rachel, and then she can send it out to the board.
Be happy to.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. All right.
Any other questions for Mr. Goheen?
Nope.
Let's move on to, thank you, Greg. Move on to our third discussion item of the evening is the USD230 strategic plan update.
As you know, like I said, a key document that serves as our roadmap, over a period of typically, 5 to 7 years is any school district strategic plan. And our district, even right before I even started, had been putting work into developing the strategic plan for 2023 through 2028. Last year, I said, fine-tuned our goals. And we're now fine-tuning it even more and trying to get our end outcomes as well as our buildings developing their strategies and their objective strategies and action steps on what they can do to help the district accomplish their end goals. And so it's kind of just a perpetual cycle. And we're also getting now to where we're into the phase where we have to start knowing, how do we know we're making progress? And so tonight, again, kind of a snapshot of where we're at right now and what work has been done most recently. Dr. Robinson, as well as Dr. Villarreal, are going to kind of walk with you and show you some of the work that's been done by our team, as well as the resource that we've identified to hopefully over the next 3 to 4 years track our successes that we have with accomplishing this plan that's been laid out. So Dr. Robinson and Dr. Villarreal, please share with us.
So you should have in front of you the first copy of the public version of our strategic plan. If you remember, the previous one was set up in a manner where every time we made an adjustment, it needed to be updated. Every time we provided new data, it needed to be updated. What we wanted in front of you was, we've been referring to it as the placemat, as something that we are keeping in front of us as we're making decisions and doing our work that will stay constant throughout this 5-year period. The other piece we're going to share with you tonight is the work that's been going on behind the scenes, because a lot of those pieces you heard the last time we were here presenting. And the number one question we got was, how are we going to monitor this moving forward? So I'm going to hand off to Dr. Villarreal, and he's going to share with you a little bit about the dashboard we're going to use. Each of those objectives, up until you get to transparent leadership, have measurable pieces already written to them, and strategies that will go with them. And all of that will be stored in a dashboard that Dr. Villarreal is going to share with you here in the next few minutes. So I'll hand it off to you.
Perfect. So like Dr. Robinson said, to provide updates and ongoing information about how we're progressing with the strategic plan, we've decided to put on our website what we're calling the strategic dashboard. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you and anyone at home that's watching how to find the strategic dashboard. So from our website, if you go to the Our District menu, there's a link to the strategic plan there. You have the 4-pager that you guys have in front of you in a digital format available. And then if you see kind of close to the top in purple, there's a link to the Spring Hill Schools strategic plan dashboard 2028 dashboard. You can access it that way. To make it easier for you and our patrons, we also added a quick link to the homepage. So right under the video montage on the homepage, there's now a button that says Strategic Dashboard. It's on the second row, second one in. So you can just click that and it will take you right to this website, which is our Strategic Dashboard. On the homepage, it includes our mission, vision, and our core values, which were the organizing piece for our strategic plan. And then, as Dr. Robinson mentioned, this dashboard serves two functions: to show you our indicators toward success and to provide you with what strategies our different departments are working on. So I'll show you the indicator piece first. And before I get into that, this is a live website. And we're still working on updating it and adding data. And that's the point of having it on a live website, is so that we can continuously add more information, more data, more updates to keep everyone in the loop on what we're doing, as opposed to having to update a publication every time we make changes. So on the indicators page, I'm going to focus on student success right now. Each of our 5 core values has a category on the indicators page, and these are the indicators of success, if we're finding success in what we're doing in the strategic plan. So right now, for student success, we have 3 data points available: the Kansas State Assessment for Math, the Kansas State Assessment for ELA, and the ACT Average Composite Score. And so what you can see quickly at a glance here is where we are with each of those measures. So currently, we have 84% of our students in level 2, 3, and 4 in math, 84 in ELA, and our last year's graduating class average composite score was 21.6. I have the big yellow arrow there pointing to the 2 buttons at the top right of each card. So view data and the I for info. If you click the I for info, it'll tell you what our goal is. So if you're like, gosh, it's great that we're at 84%, but what are we trying to do? If you click that I for info, it shows you that by 2028, our goal is to increase that percentage of students meeting or exceeding grade level expectations to 90%. So that's what that info button is. And then if you click that view data button, it'll show you the historical data associated with that data point that's been put into the system. So for Kansas State Assessment right now, we have 2021, 21-22, and 22-23 scores available for our brick and mortar schools in the district and for the state. So that's what the view data button will show you. I'm going to move to the next link at the top, which is strategies. On the placemat, all of the objectives for each goal area are listed. That's what we presented to you the last time we gave you a strategic plan update. So all of those objectives are also listed under the strategy link on the dashboard. What is going to be helpful and provide a deeper level of understanding for you and for our patrons is we can also add the strategies that we're using to work toward each objective. So we're still working on putting these in. In some cases, we're still developing them. In other cases, we'll be developing strategies over the course of the next 5 years. So it could be that while there are 2 or 3 strategies there now, by the time we get to 2028, you're going to see 9, 10, 11 strategies available in that space. But when strategies are available for an objective, then it says over to the right how many strategies are available. If you click the drop-down arrow, it'll show you what those strategies are and the percentage of progress made toward those strategies. If you see on the far right, there's also a details button. If you click that button, it'll give you that information, who is responsible for it at the district level, what their timeline is, so when they plan to implement this strategy. And there's also a place where we can upload any artifacts associated with that strategy. So that's what the details button will get you there on the dashboard. I'm going to step aside and let Dr. Robinson talk about next steps, and then we'll take questions.
Yeah, so over the next 2 months between now and Christmas break, there's 2 main things going on. One of those will start next week. Dr. Luttrell, Dr. Smith, and Mrs. Hacking and I are meeting with each of our building principals. Part of that work will be they've developed their own building level plans. And some of you that have been on site councils have already talked about the work that's being done at the building level. We'd like to get those building plans to align with what we're doing strategically as a district. And so what we'll be doing starting next week with our middle school and high school principals will be sitting down and looking at their building plan, looking at where does it connect to the objectives within the strategic plan and making sure there's alignment to strategies that we're wanting to see in the building. And then we'll also be asking them to do some work in planning for resources. What is needed to help them ensure that the plans that they've put in place at the building level, that they have what they need to be able to make progress towards those goals. So that'll be going on at the building piece. Dr. Villarreal will be working with our director team, making sure that the strategies that they have started developing are getting into the dashboard, and that there's some similarities in how our different departments are developing those strategies. So those will be the two big things you'll see between now and December. So if you're following the dashboard, and we'll try to communicate through Rachel too, so we can get information out to you as they get updated, you should see some updating over the next month and a half to each of those areas as that work is done behind the scenes. Do you have any questions about, that's kind of a quick update of what's been going on. I would tell you, you've got a really good administrative team that's doing a lot of work on this project, both at the building level and at the director level. I've been really impressed with their leadership and desire to make sure this is right. And that it's really pointing the district in the direction that we want it to go over the next 5 years. But what questions can we answer for you tonight?
I just had a quick question. Maybe you already answered it and I missed it somehow, but at where it talks about the student data, is that just our brick and mortar schools, or is that the whole district, including Insight?
The data that's in the dashboard right now is only brick and mortar.
Okay.
So I know that Dr. Smith has plans to add more data points, and she's actually going to talk data here in just a few moments. But right now, what's there is just brick and mortar.
Okay.
And I would tell you, Dr. Smith and I met with Mrs. Barton from the virtual school and discussed whether it needed its own indicators, its own strategies. And her preference was to tie into the work that was already planned for the district. So you'll see some strategy work around the virtual school connected to our strategic plan as we move forward.
Any other questions or comments?
That's a lot of information. I mean, I've looked at other district websites from different places just for different things, and some districts don't have anything. And this is huge. I mean, there's a lot of information. If people are wanting to see what we're about, they can really tell. So thank you for your hard work.
Yeah, and the specificity of the information is comprehensive. It's not just half a dozen kind of pie in the sky overall goals. I mean, there's specific things here. They're measurable, right? They're applicable, they're relevant, and they're time bound. And the only other question you could ask is about alignment. And I think, Dr. Robinson, you talked about, I know the site councils I've sit in, there's a lot of energy and being put into ensuring we have an alignment. I think that alignment is a synergistic variable that can really springboard the district forward. And I did notice in the data that there's a nice positive slope on the line for achievement over the last 3 years. So
you'll be really impressed to hear Dr. Smith's presentation here in a few minutes.
Looking forward to it.
I will say one of the things the board can help us over the next couple of months is giving us some feedback on what parts of the strategic plan our board members need to hear. Because I think our next update is slated for January as we transition potentially 4 new board members onto the board. And we want to make sure that we'll be circling back and probably giving a more comprehensive update at that point. But if there's pieces that you wish we would have highlighted more, please let me or Dr. Villarreal know so that we can plan that presentation appropriately.
Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate that update. We'll move on to our 4th discussion item, which is Student Assessment Report Part 1. Dr. Luttrell.
Yes, tonight we're going to again highlight some really what I think is celebratory data from our looking at how locally our students did on the state assessment last spring across the spectrum and look at it from a district-wide as to how our students performed in language arts as well as math, and then take a look as well at how our students did in comparison to unofficially what we know in terms of just the other Johnson County school districts. And as last year, which Dr. Smith will get into, but again, these are not official yet because the state hasn't officially released them. So we've had to kind of, rely on neighbors to kind of share. And so we're going to give you a little cheat sheet that'll kind of help you identify when she's walking through this, what some of the alphabetic letters specifically refer to in terms of a specific district. Also, we wanted to point out that this will be coming to you in 2 or 3 phases. This is just report 1. You'll get another one probably the next meeting or the one in November, where we will go on a much broader spectrum to the region of how we performed, include state averages in that, and also at that time include how our virtual students performed. As you know, we do have the largest virtual school in the state of Kansas. Those students we serve a niche for those students who many times, like I said, have been not at their best in the traditional school environment. And so we really do not see those students, but yet the virtual school insight through their operation addresses the needs of those students with their curriculum. But yet, according to the state, they still consider them part of our district. But yet, what we wanted to do tonight is show you again how USD230 students that attend here on site every day, brick and mortar, compare with other Johnson County students that attend brick and mortar. So Dr. Smith, I'll let you take it away. And again, I think the information is positive, very positive, and definitely I think highlights again the strategic plan, the PLCs, a lot of initiatives that you all have had the foresight to put in place that again are all coming together and slowly making that difference in student learning.
Thank you. Good evening. Just as a quick recap for our Board of Education and any viewers at home, the state assessment in ELA and mathematics is given in grades 3 through 8 and grade 10. And students who sit down for these assessments, they are given items or questions that are grade level content. So everything that's presented to them on the state assessment is from that grade level. Now, there are different levels of complexity with the questions. So as a student sits down and takes those assessments, they're going to fall into one of 4 categories in terms of their overall score. If they're scoring at a level 1, this means that they have a very limited ability to interact with grade level content. If they're at a level 2, they have a more basic ability and understanding to interact with that content. And then levels 3 and 4 show a more effective or excellent ability to interact with questions that are more complex. So you can just kind of see a difference in what those items might look like. A level 1 or a level 2 item, those are very basic recall, very factual pieces of information. As you get into levels 3 and 4, the questions become a little bit harder, they're more complex, they require more strategic thinking, problem-solving approaches. So there are some differences between the types of items that students are presented, but they're always presented grade level content. So you're not getting questions below grade level or above grade level on a state assessment. Just for some context then, this is some examples from our Kansas Assessment Development Guides. So a student who is going to take an ELA exam and is going to be tested in 3rd grade over the standard of asking and answering questions about a text. This gives you an idea of students who are scoring at a level 2 are going to be able to answer and ask questions. But as you get into levels 3 and 4, they can do a little bit more with that information. They can draw conclusions based on some explicit details from the text. They can make inferences. They can provide support for their conclusions. So all of those items have a range in terms of the depth of knowledge. And that would be true for math as well. So our third graders are working hard on learning those multiplication and division facts. So if you're looking at a student who's getting questions correct more in those level 1 categories, level 2, it's very basic computation. It's really focused just on one-step word problems. But for students who are scoring a little bit higher in 3 or 4, they might have multiple digits included in their word problems, multi-step word problems. So how did we fare this year in 2023 with our state assessment data? And like Dr. Luttrell said, this is for our brick and mortar schools. For our students who were performing in levels 2, 3, and 4, we went from 81% of those students performing at 2, 3, and 4 last year in 2022 to 84%. And these are, again, well above the state averages. So in 2023, just 68% of the students in Kansas in math were able to obtain a 2, 3, or 4. And for ELA, for English Language Arts, we went from an 82% last year in 2022 to an 84% in 2023. And we continue to really drive the academic achievement of our students. So one of the things that you often hear Dr. Watson, our education commissioner, talk about is the need to reduce the number of students who are in levels 1. So we've done a really great job of being able to do that. We have decreased the percentage of students not only in levels 1, but also in level 2. So in this past school year, we were able to increase the number of students at levels 3 and 4 in math from 46% to 53%. And in ELA, we went from 48% to 50%. And again, well above the state averages for students who are scoring at a level 3 or 4. So that means we have students who are really interacting with these questions at a pretty complex level. In terms of how we're comparing to our neighboring districts in the Johnson County area, Spring Hill last year, for ELA, the percent of students that were at or above a level 2 was 82%. And so we were third in that list. In 2023, we're now at 84%. For the percent of students who are at or above a level 3 for English Language Arts, in 2022, that was 48% for Spring Hill. And this year, 50%. And so we continue to really move up in terms of comparing to our local counterparts. For math, last year we had 81% of our students at or above a level 2. So we were third in that list. And in 2023, we've maintained that spot, but we have increased the percentage of students who are at or above that level 2 with an 84%. For students who are at or above a level 3, in 2022, we had 46%. And in 2023, we have 53% of our students. So closing the gap between us and some of our neighboring schools. So I would say probably one of the most significant increases is that math jump. That's pretty significant in terms of overall performance. So a huge kudos to our classroom teachers because that's pretty amazing. So what do we really attribute this success to? Our teachers have really done a wonderful job embracing professional learning communities. They've been using that time to develop and analyze student assessment data. So they've been monitoring progress of students very closely. They have also worked hard to implement an MTSS handbook. So how do we go about making sure that we've identified students who might need additional academic support and then are able to provide those supports throughout the school day. We hope to see some really good increases in terms of our English Language Arts data. We have teachers who are participating in 2 pretty intense certification programs. Letters is a 2-year program, and we have 53 teachers right now at the elementary level who are participating in that program to really make sure that they have all of the strategies and skills to address phonemic awareness and phonics in grades K through 3. And then we have a group of teachers at the middle school. All of our middle school English language arts teachers are currently working to get certified in a program called Aspire, which helps our older students continue to close any reading gaps that they may have to address at the middle level. We've also been able to really grow our professional development calendar for our teachers, offering more opportunities for professional development throughout the school year. And for the last 2 summers, we've been able to offer a conference here in Spring Hill just for Spring Hill teachers. We call it Summer Summit. All of the conference sessions are aligned to our strategic plan goals. And this is a really great professional development that teachers can opt to attend. And just within the past year, we've had an increase of 25% in our attendance. So more teachers attending. Some of our teachers are presenting at the conference. So it's been a great opportunity for them to get some additional professional learning throughout the summer. Any questions for me this evening about the state assessment data?
Some positive gains.
It's good news.
Math 7% in math alone is remarkable. It's outstanding. Any other questions for Dr. Smith?
Just kind of a clarification. So the, from one year to the next, they aren't necessarily the same students, right? Because you're always in these grades, 3 through 8 and then grade 10.
Mhm.
So you're just looking at the achievement level of this grade level this year versus the achievement level the next year, correct?
We follow both cohort data longitudinally. So we do look at different graduating classes and how they're doing over time. This really just compares. So for every student who took a state assessment in 2022 and 2023, how did our performance look between those 2 years?
Okay.
So they're brick and mortar averages.
Gotcha.
Do we have the numbers before 2020? I'd be curious to see like 2017, 18.
We do. I believe I know they go back at least 5 years.
If we could get the numbers back 5 years before that, that would be great. That would be pre-pandemic.
Mhm.
I was thinking they changed the state assessment and how it was.
They've changed the state assessment several times within the last, I want to say 7 or 8 years. There have been a couple of iterations of the state assessment, so it has not been the same test the entire time. And KSD is set to provide a new assessment in 2025.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dr. Smith?
Just thank you. I know that we've made huge improvements in professional development and what teachers are able to learn from each other and the professional learning communities. I think it's been some really good changes. So I know you're spearheading a lot of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right, moving on to board work calendar. Dr. Luttrell.
We have the next, you see the work calendar there. Like I said, fluid document continues to evolve with the next few meetings between now and the end of the calendar year, definitely going to be full. We have the next few meetings, we'll be bringing you information back again and talking more about our open enrollment policy transfer request that we have to have in place according to the state by January. We've been working on that quite a bit, as all districts within the state. So the next few meetings, we will be bringing you that information. We also, as you know, have been talking for quite some time about transitioning to a weighted grading type program at our high school, and to kind of fall in line with what many other area school districts have gone to, and provides some extra incentive for those students that do take maybe the AP classes, the more rigorous courses. But we have to ideally want to present that to you all. As you know, we've been working on it and have that approved by the December date so that we can begin early in January is whenever our counselors will start working with students, planning their schedules for the 24-25 school year. And if we're going to implement that, we need to have all that ready to go for those documents. So the next few meetings for sure will be full. And then we also have, which I'll talk about it in my superintendent's report. We also have a work session, which we typically do on the 5th month. If there's a 5th Monday, we have one of those coming up at the end of this month. And there'll be a couple topics that we'll be addressing there. And if you have a particular topic that we haven't mentioned yet, you might want to toss it out to see if we can work that in with our other 2 main topics that we have.
Okay, very good. Moving on to Board of Education member reports. Site councils or.
There was a site council at Wolf Creek, but I did not make it back in town in time to get to the meeting. So
okay,
try again next time.
Yeah, you'll get the minutes.
I attended the site council for Dayton Creek. I'm sorry, not Dayton Creek, for Spring Middle. Darcy really messes me up when she's at both schools. So it was their first site council meeting ever. So it's pretty introducing bylaws, all of that. They are implementing some really great student recognition initiatives that I thought were really awesome. And then they're also doing something that I would have appreciated with an elementary kid, these things called grade checks. And they're just having the kid open their Skyward and take a screenshot and email it to their parents. And so it's not anything to get more information. They have to like actually get in there and dig in. But sometimes I feel like parents just need that little reminder, like, hey, your kid might have a missing assignment, or open the door to talk about their grades. So I thought that was really some really neat things they're doing. I also attended the high school site council meeting, and they are doing lots of work on the weighted grades and the honor system that they're researching and looking into. Lots of parent involvement and teacher involvement, student involvement. So I think some perspectives will be added to that. Yeah.
I attended the Dayton Creek Elementary Site Council, and I was a little bit late due to a work obligation, but I think Dr. Miller is doing great there, brand new principal. The staff seem to really be taking her lead, and they did talk about their building strategic plan, kind of some of the activities that they're doing with parents, and amazing participation. I know they talked about some assessment data and stuff too. It was a very informative meeting, just to be brief. And then I also attended the building site council for Spring Hill Middle School. And I think it was a lot of organizational things and determining some feedback on PLC Wednesday mornings without doing the Y care. I think some things were discussed that were helpful to give them some feedback. And then we also got to tour some of those new classrooms and the new kitchen that we spent a lot of money on the new kitchen. And so to me, having been in there with kids when it does not look like it did, it was really neat to see what they've done to that building. And then if you haven't seen the stadium there it is really nice. So anyway, those 2 things. And then the third thing was that I was asked to speak at the National Junior Honor Society at Forest Spring Middle School. So this is the first school to have a National Honor Society at the middle school level. And the tenets of that are scholarship, leadership, character, service, and citizenship. So we got to cover some of those with them, but they inducted 27 kids, and they must have had to practice their handshakes because, man, every one of them had a really good handshake. So that was fun. Also like to remind people that tomorrow night there's a candidate meet and greet for all the school board and Spring Hill City Council members at the Spring Hill Community Center from 7 to 9.
Any other, Rachel, can you make sure that I think we took Ally off of Prairie Creek Site Council and make sure that I'm on that communication, because I haven't seen anything, but I'm not sure I was.
I don't think anything's come out. I haven't.
Okay. It's just to make sure the communication link gets made. Okay, thank you. Superintendent's report, Dr. Luttrell.
Okay, again, as I mentioned, we do have the upcoming work session on October 30th. The two topics that have been mentioned earlier should have a main focus for that work session involved succession planning, because we do have some key positions in the next 12 to 24 months that are going to be transitioning, and we want to make sure that we have a good solid plan in place so that we keep continuity and things moving. And the other topic is one that's been the board has worked on for a period of time, and that is trying to possibly look at continuing to address and develop a superintendent's evaluation tool. I know that President Updike has also had communications with the Kansas Association of School Boards. They are also kind of working through that same process, and I think have invited us if you want to be part of that program. But those are the two topics that I have now. So if you have another topic, you want to share that out, and we can determine and try to work that see if it'll work into that meeting on the 30th. We typically start those at in the past they've started at 6 p.m. and is that the time we still want to keep, or do you want a different time on it?
I'm okay with 6. I mean, 6 is okay with me.
6 is fine with me, but I can be flexible if somebody has a hard time getting there at 6 to have it at 7, like our regular meetings.
Yeah, and we do want to, I think we typically have a generic guideline to keep those to around 2 hours, not exceed that 2 hours. So gives a chance to focus on.
And we will have one more meeting before then, right?
Yes.
On the 20.
Yes, we have a regular meeting on the 23rd.
Yeah. So the other thing that but we're probably going to be discussing it more on the 23rd is open enrollment policy and stuff. I just want to make sure we keep that in front of us. That's a have to.
Yes.
Okay, and then we have the State of the District breakfast is set for this Thursday, October the 12th. It's going to be at the Meadowlark Event Center this year because we do have regular school in session that day, and the Meadowlark is also one of the foundation sponsors, and part of their in-kind contribution is they allow us to have one event per year there without having to pay the usage fee. And so they're going to take advantage of that and have the breakfast there on that Thursday morning. We're going to do the format this year. It'll be a regular program, but the doors and that will open a little bit before 7:30. We'll have student ambassadors there to greet, take you to your table, but breakfast is going to be available as soon as people arrive. So they can start getting in line and getting their breakfast at 7:30. And then right around that 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. time is whenever we hope that we can start the program. We have about an hour program. And so we can hopefully try to have everyone out of there and on their way by around that 9 o'clock mark. With that, but we have a good program lined out. Dr. Villarreal has been working on that. We're fine tuning that. But again, that's this Thursday. And if you, and I know we did send invites out. We also invited some other guests. But if you have any last minute individuals that you want to bring, like I said, just let us know, and we'll make sure that we get them on the list and accommodate that. Hard to believe that our end of the first quarter is actually also going to be next week on the 18th. We also, on the 18th and 19th, will have parent-teacher conferences. Each school site should have already been sending out of the process of how their conferences will work, because they're just a little bit different, tweaked, and, by building some of the formatting, that they will be on that Wednesday afternoon, evening, and then part of the day on Thursday. And for students next week, they will not have regular classes it'll be an early dismissal on Wednesday, and then there will be no classes for students on Thursday, the 19th, or Friday, the 20th, but we will resume a regular schedule on Monday, the 23rd. So that's my superintendent's report.
Very good. Thank you. We do need a couple of executive sessions this evening.
Mr. President, I move that the board recess to executive session to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma. Those to be in the session include Board of Education members, superintendent of schools, assistant superintendent of schools, and administrators as requested. Executive session will begin at 8:25. And to resume no later than 9 PM in this place.
Second the motion.
It's moved and seconded to move to executive session to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma. Rachel, please collect a vote.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mrs. Sealing,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Updike,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
approved. We need microphones.
We need to come back, I think, for the second one, because it's a different.
It's a
different executive.
Move to extend
Second.
executive session to no later than 9:20.
Second.
Take a vote.
All right, Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Updike,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
approved.
Mr. President, I move that the board recess into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel to protect the privacy interests of an identifiable individual or individuals under coma. Those to be in the session include Board of Education members, district attorney, superintendent of schools, assistant superintendent of schools, director of human resources, and other administrators as requested. The executive session will begin at 9:17 with an open meeting resuming at no later than 10 in this place.
Second. It's moved and seconded to move to executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel under coma. Rachel, please collect the vote.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mr. Updike,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
approved.
in session. And we are adjourned. Thank you.